items is there is a termination clause for convenience if we need to. And then another item, as we had in the past, the Children's Museum will not pay any rent to the city. And in return, they will be responsible for making all facility maintenance repairs to keep it up to code and operational. Other than that, that's about it. Yeah, happy to answer any questions that you have about specifics.
Yeah, I'm curious about, you were talking about those updates to, it already went on my head how you put it, but you were basically saying updates to infrastructure. I know that was kind of the sticking point, as I remember, on this lease, that there was some work that needed to get done by the Children's Museum. It was kind of a dispute who's going to do it, how much money are we going to put into it, are we going to put money? Can you just walk us through what that controversy is too big of a word, but for lack of a better word, was and how it got resolved?
Sure. To make a long story short, in the previous agreement and the new one that is before the council today, the Children's Museum is always responsible for making those repairs. However, based on what I've heard in the past, they weren't bringing in super high revenues that allowed them to move their operating budget to some of that preventative maintenance stuff, like honestly, all organizations struggle with. So I think over time, some items had fallen into disrepair. They had been called into question. And as a result, the city, our facility management team, actually went and resolved all of those repairs, made them ourselves. We're actually adding new security lighting out there right now and doing a number of other smaller projects that they lack the resources or the expertise to complete on their own. So, how I've been kind of phrasing it is moving forward, yes, the Children's Museum is responsible for making those repairs, but the city is always here. You know, if they need a hand, if they need our expertise, if they need some funding help, because we want to keep that facility operational and open for everybody who enjoys it.
Gotcha. And then along those lines, I remember we have a capital improvement project for the Children's Museum. Well, actually, let me back up and just say big kudos on the lighting. I know that's something I've heard from quite a few folks about, so appreciate you guys working on that in particular. But I was going to ask the capital improvement project that's related to the Children's Museum. That I think would be more or less separate from what you're describing, right? That is not about maintenance. That's about we're trying to provide them with some new infrastructure, and so the city is putting that money in. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, just like all of our lessor-lessee relationships, as the lessor in this case, we're responsible for capital facility improvements. The lessee is responsible for making wear and tear repairs to those facilities. So we are working on one, maybe even more CIP projects in the future. And that's our responsibility as the landowner. And the Children's Museum is just a tenant on our land.
Got it. Cool. Okay, that makes sense to me. Thank you guys for working through that. I know that's honestly, it was like one of the first issues I heard about when I came on the council. So, and I know there was a little while of back and forth there. So this is just speaks to why it's so important to have this Department of Central Services and have dedicated folks on that sort of beat of managing our leases. Really happy to have that.
Thank you. For your awareness, both of you, Alderman Schnittelmeyer flagged for me in a previous committee meeting that the trail behind the Children's Museum has some dark areas. And so the Public Works Department, the Recreation and Parks Department, and I are starting to talk about that and how maybe we make improvements to that space as well. So just tying together all of the improvements at that property, that's something else we're looking at.
Alderman Schnittelmeyer and I have a slight disagreement on that in that I kind of love how dark it is back there. And it's like you can actually be in the woods at night and watch bats. But yeah, we probably should fix that up for safety reasons. Alderman Schnittelmeyer and I are probably a little less concerned about safety than the average person walking back there. So
Well,
good to get it
that's
fixed.
noted. We might be able to compromise on a lighting solution then that works for all.
Who knows? I think making sure people are safe is the priority. That's all my questions, Alderman Gay.
No, thank you very much, Alderman Huntley. You've actually answered some of the questions that I've had. I just wanted to follow up on the CIP request. has one currently been passed in the previous budget cycle? You mentioned that there may be one or two in the pike. Just curious if there's anything ongoing. In addition, for what I'll call, for lack of better words right now, petty maintenance inside. Has the city already dispersed funding for the facility to be improved, or is that something that we're at this point looking at as a supplemental appropriation? And I think that's the reason I brought it to this committee. I was just concerned about just a timeline as it relates to getting those things done.
So far, none of the repairs we've had to make to that facility rise to the level that we need to request more funding. We have several vendors on contract that we can call in an emergency to come in and repair an item that needs urgent attention. So nothing major, nothing that the facility's operating budget hasn't absorbed, like we would in any facility. We're the lessor. So yeah, that's all pretty standard. If it does reach that critical level, it's always possible we could come back. And one thing that will help answer those questions for us is we're getting ready to undertake a facility condition assessment that a vendor is going to come in and look at every structure that we, the city, own. And they're going to help us identify what are those items lurking behind the walls that we're not very confident of, or we don't know where the priority is, where we invest now versus where we invest later on our preventative maintenance timeline. So the Children's Museum, like all of our other owned structures, are going to fall within that assessment. And then I hope to present to the council an itemized, based on when we think critical infrastructure will fail. Here is the budget and the facility needs we'll have over time to repair those items. And
you mind if I just add on to that, Alderman Gay?
Please do.
Yeah. So I think, not to dispute anything Mr. Flynn had just said, but I think the capital improvement project that was funded in the I believe it was FY25 capital budget is it was $52,500 to start design on some improvements to the parking lot, right? So that this is the kind of capital improvement that Mr. Flynn was saying is different from our maintenance work. So this is really about making it so that they have, I don't think it's quite parking, as I understand it's more about having an ability for buses to turn around, buses to come there. It's not just sort of like general adding more parking there. And that was $52,500 funded previously. At one point it was discussed that additional funds would come in FY26 and FY27, but in the capital improvement program that we passed, those additional funds got pushed out to FY28 and 29. And that was we could talk some more about why that happened, but
just quickly, Alderman Huntley, I'm curious if it says on the budget sheet that you're looking at whether it is hardtop or are they using the same surface that they are, which is like almost wood chips.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to go talk to Public Works about it.
Okay, no problem. I appreciate that. Then quickly on this, and then if there are no other questions, we'll close out. We also own the bridge connecting to the middle school, correct?
That I actually do not know, but I can find out for you.
Okay, fantastic. And 2 points, as you mentioned, to the you mentioned I think it was the convenience clause. If there is needed development at said site, and I know that obviously the city council passed a resolution expressing interest that the site there be included for affordable housing projects, and that's been discussed with the Choice Neighborhood Initiative. And so even down to the lighting at that park, I could imagine that there could be funding there, obviously, for improvements to both the facility and the park in the long term. So just want to make that point to close.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm in talks right now with Public Works and Rec and Park. We have an interesting intersection there of Rec and Park trails and facilities that we manage, and Public Works horizontal infrastructure. But we'll circle back with y'all and find a way where we can each take our piece of all of these different projects at that site and build it out in the way that the council and the city want.
Fantastic. Awesome. Alderman Huntley, do you want to make a favorable recommendation of
Yeah, so
0825? Fantastic. I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Flinner. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is R3025, the 5-year Consolidated Housing Community Development Strategic Plan. I will turn it over to Planning and Zoning, and I see we have a guest as well.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll
fantastic.
introduce him.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Alderman Gay. My name is Alexis Robinson from the Department of Planning and Zoning. With me today is John Hagland of Urban Design Ventures, who is the consultant working with us in putting together this 5-year consolidated plan for HUD. So I'm not going to actually pull up my slides, but I'll be prepared to, pull them up if needed. So this 5-year consolidated plan for the federal fiscal year of 2025 to 2029, which aligns with our local fiscal year of 2026 to 2030. And it's technically 2 plans. It's the consolidated plan as well as the annual action plan. So this is the fiscal year 2026 annual action plan. These plans are required by us as an entitlement community from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the Community Development Block Grant Program. This block grant program provides annual funds for providing capital improvements to low and moderate income communities within the city of Annapolis. We are required to do this consolidated plan every 5 years, and we've been doing it since 2009. And every year we also produce a annual action plan as well as the evaluation report, which is called the CAPER. I'm losing what the CAPER actually stands for. So
I think they're those nice little things. They're nice and briny. They're really delicious. Sometimes people put them in martinis.
I'm a fan. So the consolidated plan consists of 6 strategies to help address priority needs throughout the city. Those priority needs are housing strategies, homelessness strategies, other special needs, community development strategies, economic development, and administrative planning and management strategies. These strategies come with objectives and outcomes based on projects that we anticipate to happen in the next 5 years within the city that could be funded by the funds that we receive from HUD. Oh yes, so it's called the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. That is what the CAPER stands for. As of our last CAPER, that was submitted and approved by HUD, we have expended 100% of our CDBG funds for low and moderate income persons within the city. Those funds, it helps for us to spend those funds so that we can continue to receive them. And we're doing a pretty good job of it. For this process, there is a bit of citizen participation that takes place as well. We held a needs public hearing on April 24th this year with the Affordable Housing and Community Equity Development Commission to gather input from the community as well as help a comment period for people to provide their input. We also reached out to stakeholders within the city of Annapolis as well as Anne Arundel County to understand what priorities should be for this 5-year consolidated plan. there was also 3 online surveys that the public were allowed to fill out. And the public is residents as well as people who interact with the city of Annapolis. And so now we have a draft consolidated plan that is published on our city website under the planning and zoning website. And this will be on public display for 30 days. The 30 days started at June 12th and will end on July 14th. The public is allowed to submit comment and questions about the plan to me by email or phone, to mail them to the actual office for planning and zoning. And then we also have a comment form on the website that they can fill out with their questions and comments. If they would like to view a copy of the plan, they can do that in our offices at the HACA office or online. There's always a copy online. We held a second public hearing for the consolidated plan, which was to go over this draft plan with the Housing Commission last week, June 26th. Their people were invited to give testimony as well. And these announcements were put into the Capitol Gazette with the 15-day notice of the public hearings. And so our next steps include being here with you all to answer any questions or gather any comments about the plan. Again, the plan will be on display and open for public comment until July 14th, which is also when I believe it goes back to the city council for a vote on the resolution. And yeah, that's pretty much my summary of everything. John, is there anything that you think I glossed over you might want to add?
No, I think you did an excellent job. I think really all to include with this is the city receives about $270,000 to $300,000 per year in CDBG funds. So this plan is specific for the next 5 years, is to basically lay out what our goals are, what our priorities are of where the CDBG funds will be spent. To relate it back to the CAPER, that's kind of how it will be measured. We'll state what the goals are in the consolidated plan, and then each CAPER will proceed to measure the performance of what the funds were used for. So basically just the plan is specific to the CDBG funds, which are specific to the low and moderate income population of the city of Annapolis. Kind of roughly speaking, you're taking a look at like a family of 4 with an income below, about 100,000 with that, and then obviously adjusted depending on family household size. But no, that was really all to add. So any questions that anyone has, we'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, thank you, John. I think one more thing I'll add to that is that we have it's about 278 for the fiscal year for 2026. The following years are kind of up in the hands of the federal budget. But for this fiscal year 2026, we have 4 applicants that have applied for funding, and those are HACA, of course, the Housing Authority of Annapolis, the City of Annapolis, Homes for America, Boys and Girls Club, and Arundel Lodge. And so now we will take questions, I guess.
Alderman Huntley, do you have any questions?
No, nothing off the top of my head. I thought this was going to be like a very, very big plan when I first read the name, and it's pretty narrowly tailored to making sure we use these CDBG funds correctly. So, no, it seems pretty darn straightforward. I appreciate the work you guys have put into it, but no questions for me.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I just have a few questions / statements. I would add on, you have partners, I think it's on page 10. I would add the Office of Community Services. That's their missing partner that deals heavily with the populations involved. Let me see, where is that? Yeah, page 10. I would just add them on that list. Is provide a concise summary of jurisdictions, coordination between public assistance providers and private government health, mental health, and service agencies. And so we have us listed as overseeing the CBDG grant, HACA, social services, and other things, but I don't know if they should be included in that. Am I missing that or reading that incorrectly?
No, that can be added. Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the suggestion. No problem.
And then also, I just really appreciate the detail on and the housing needs list. Looking at some of the feedback, how is this the survey conducted? Is this live feedback, or is this just based off of maybe information shared with the city over the last few years?
We did 3 survey monkeys that we put together. 2 of them were resident surveys. One was in Spanish, just a copy translated to Spanish. And then the other one was a stakeholder survey. The resident survey actually mirrors what the Department of Planning and Zoning has been doing consistently, going back some time periods. So it was just used as to what previous language was with that. That had been promoted through the website, through meetings, and any other opportunities for engagement, while we were conducting our CDBG contact list, letting them know that those surveys were out there. I'm just kind of asking a number of different pieces, what were public facility needs, what were recreation needs, what is the status of housing, what does everyone feel the greatest priorities are, things along those lines. But it followed previous surveys and utilized SurveyMonkey that the company I work with, Urban Design Ventures, had put together for that information.
Thank you for that feedback. And also, Mr. Haglund, as you started to speak, I remember you more and more vividly working very, very closely with Ms. Wellman.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. And you're based out of Pittsburgh, correct?
That is correct. That is an excellent memory, and it's funny you say that. And Alderman Huntley, when you were talking about, because I remember when I met you, Alderman Gay, that you were the youngest alderman in
that area. Yeah, that's fantastic, and full circle there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also just want to point out on page 20,
okay,
with the under the housing problems table. That stat is just crazy to me. There's a list. It says has housing problems, household with 1 or more severe housing problems, lacks kitchen or complete plumbing, severe overcrowding, severe cost burden. 2,025 residents. Is that correct, or is that households?
So those are. Let me just pull that up just to make sure. I'm pretty sure those are households, but give me 1 second.
Yeah,
you said page 20. That was.
Yeah, page 20.
All right, give me 1 more second. Yeah, those are households. So this data is from the U.S. Census Department, and this is their 2023 5-year American Community Survey data is what comes with that. There's like kind of an overlay that HUD puts a little bit of information in with the census data, but this information comes from the census and the surveys that are sent out, and those responses that come back. So these are estimates, but I would say with anything of that scale, couple of percentage points is as good as that's going to get, and that's what they're stating when they're using their estimates with that.
And then just my last point, we, would this qualify our program? We have an emergency housing fund where if families are, if they need to be moved out of a house for, you know, issues with, you know, with mediation, domestic violence, etc.
Okay.
You know, they have to be approved by the city manager and the director of office community services, but they can be moved to a shelter. And right now, because we just don't have the funds, you can only qualify for that if a shelter has an open bed in like the coming week, but you know, the shelters are backed up. Would this fund qualify to subsidize a program like that? You know, not the entire $279,000, but something on a smaller scale.
So with your CDBG funds, that would be an eligible activity. The city is mainly covered by the county when it comes to homeless. And that basically is the COC, who's the governing body, which is a collection of other organizations that are providers. So I think kind of given the limited amount of funding, that responsibility has moved on to the county, and that's mainly where that resides. But from a regulatory standpoint, yes, if you wanted to use CDBG funds specific for that activity, that could be used with that, for that.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And this starts tomorrow, new fiscal year. So right in time, but it will be passed at a later date. Any other questions, Alderman Huntley?
No questions for me. Thanks so much for explaining this to us, guys.
Any other comments or concerns from the staff and Mr. Haglund?
No, no other items.
Awesome. Okay. Fantastic. Very, very much appreciate the work that you all have put into this. And again, this is publicly available for anyone that is listening now or listening later on the City of Annapolis' Planning and Zoning website. You can pick it up in person at Planning and Zoning or go to the Hacker headquarters. I think it's 1217 Madison. And so with that, if there's a recommendation to move, R3025 forward to the full council.
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Alderman Huntley, do you have anything else to add to the agenda?
I don't believe so.
Fantastic. And got everybody here with 14 minutes to spare. Please be safe getting back home or wherever you are. And so I guess, what I really wanted to add, we will have several emergency meetings as we get things back from Planning Commission, because I looked, we only have 2 scheduled housing and welfare meetings left, I believe, the 21st of July. We're off in August, and then one in September. And so as we get legislation back, 6 pieces, I think. Okay.
You know, I had at least 2, and then I think Alderman Schneider has one also. So
and I have 1.
Gotcha. Yeah, quite a few.
You want all of those to come to your committee, Alderman Gay?
No, I think some of them are directly associated to the Housing and Welfare Committee.
Okay.
In particular, the one that Alderman Huntley and I have introduced. And I'm not saying that we'll belabor anything. We want to get it in and out, but we'll just have to do that as those come.
Gotcha.
Perfect. All right. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right. Everybody have a good night.